An English teacher would keep getting pestered by one of her students to agree to marry him. But she would always laugh and tell Shu to grow bigger before marrying, despite how cute he was. She couldn't take him seriously, so she thoughtlessly told him to ask once he's 18. Later, when Xiao started to go to middle school, he would still come to see her every week and only ask if she got a boyfriend, yet like a typical grandma. Now it's been a few years since he gave his entrance exam and he has stopped seeing her. In her drunkenness, she wonders how Shu is doing now and reminiscences about her popular phase, as now even kids in elementary schools are in relationships, so no one even says "Sensei, I love you" to her us moment. She cries as now, after the students go home, she spends her time drinking alone, and despite being 35 years old, she doesn't even have a boyfriend and thinks that the reason Shu stopped coming to see her is that he has already found a girlfriend. She wishes for someone to man up and propose to her like Shu did, but knows that nothing will happen if she sits on her ass all day like your average gamer, so starts to browse dating sites. Suddenly, her doorbell rings and she thinks that it's a delivery for the undergarments she ordered online and goes to get the door. She opens the door and is surprised to see that it's Shoutaru, who is now no longer a Shota. He announces that he is now 18, so he has come for her, just like they promised, and asks her to marry him. The teacher realizes that the cute Shota has now evolved into Shoutaru, who is just her type. Seeing the teacher's silence, Shoutaru asks if things won't work out even now and feels let down, assuming she isn't into guys like him. The teacher finally collects herself and says that she's into guys like him and asks him if he is wearing a uniform. Shoutaru explains that he is going home from school, at which she tells him to wait till graduation, but Shoutaru can't wait anymore. The teacher is worried about being labeled a criminal, but Shoutaru assures her that it will be fine as he's 18 now. When Shoutaru saw this woman back when he was little, he felt her shine bright like the sun. He found her so beautiful that he couldn't even utter a single word. His mom came to the door and scolded him for not even saying a hello. The teacher explains that she has just recently opened up a kids' English conversation school on 5th Street and asks if they are interested in trial classes. The mom tries to decline, but Shoutaru starts blasting random English words, saying he wants to go to English school. He desperately persuaded his parents to let him go to the school just so he could see that woman. We all would have done the same. She teaches him how to pronounce different English words and explains how to use your tongue to make the different sounds. He tries to follow her instructions but fails, so she gives him an up-close demonstration of the movements, which made him fall even more in love with her. Later, when he told his friends about marrying the teacher, they made fun of him and asked why he quit the school. He only quit because his parents didn't let him go to the school after 6th grade. The friends tease him that she already has a boyfriend and will never agree to marry Shoutaru, and they start having a fun fight. The smart friend explains that there are still 5 years left until they turn 18, and by that time a lot will change about them, and asks Shoutaru what he will do if he doesn't end up like the type of guys she likes. After that, he used to check in on her every day, asking her if she has a boyfriend yet, and turned into a professional stalker. He tried to figure out what kind of stuff she likes and joined the baseball club only because she liked baseball. He started using wax to look like the player she was a fan of, but one day, while playing, his knees started hurting because of Osgood-Schlatter disease due to excessive sports activities. For the entirety of 8th and 9th grade, he suffered shooting pains in his entire body, and his body changed as he grew larger and his face looked the same as an adult, making him feel embarrassed and worry about her turning him down, so he stopped going to see her. He even rejected Fujita, who confessed her love to him. Fujita asks him who is the person he likes, and he replies that she doesn't go to this school. Later, his friends get mad at him for rejecting Fujita and tell him to forget about the teacher, and he hasn't gone to see her in quite a while, so if he shows up suddenly, then she will freak out. Shoutaru pulls out a picture of his teacher's favorite player and says that he looks like him, so there's a chance that she will say that she loves him. His friends ask what he will do in case she isn't interested in him or already has a boyfriend, but he isn't worried about that as long as she's happy and his first love will come to an end. Now that he is standing in front of her, he sees that she is as cute as ever and her face is all red. She begins to overthink that Shoutaru is about 17 years younger than her and says that they can't marry as she will always see him as a child. Shoutaru hugs her tightly and says that he isn't a child anymore, but she screams that they can't marry because to her, he is still a child. This rejection shocks him as she pushes him away and says that he can't just pretend to be an adult and hug her, and she isn't dumb enough to fall for those tricks, and points out that it's now 7 in the evening and asks if he has a curfew as he's still a student. She begins screaming at him, asking if he even understands what a marriage is and how he will provide for her as he doesn't even have a job, and explains to him that the word marriage is to only be said to someone who is very important to you and after you have become a full working member of the society. Shoutaru keeps staring at her as he likes being chewed out by her after so long. She then tries to push him to go back to his home, but he hits her with the "Will you marry me if I graduate and get a job?" This makes her embarrassed, and she tells him that the proper order is to first date, and she covers her red face and admits that he is dreaming about her too much as she is 17 years older than him, so to him she is like an old woman, and beats herself up by saying that she doesn't has any hobbies and isn't very interesting and she can't even cook and is just a slob, and cries that the only good thing about her is being able to speak English and she's nothing special. She remembers how her previous boyfriend dumped her for being boring and never letting him hit it and treating him like a little kid. The idiot called her bland and dumped her for being bland. So she finally admits to Shadowru that dating her would be too boring, and as he is still young, he should find a cute and bubbly girl and date her instead. Shadowru simply smiles and asks her if she likes him. This question makes her tear up a bit as she remembers Shadowru saying he will always love her. He now kisses her hand and confesses his eternal love for her and apologizes to her for having such an important conversation when she is drunk, and promises to think carefully about his future and then become a full-fledged member of society, and admits that he will keep on confessing to her like this over and over again until she gets a partner and finds happiness. She tells him to give up on her and start going out with the girl in his high school, but he confesses that he has been crushing on her for 8 years, and at this point he doesn't want to rush straight to the final result, and says that she isn't boring as he finds her cute and mischievous and likes her panicked, and ever since he met her for the first time, he has considered her his son. She says that he is just trying to look cool by calling her that as her name is Hinata, and Shadowru admits that. Hinata tells Shadowru that she has never shown him the real her, as he only went to her classes ever since the 3rd grade for only 3 years once a week. Hinata sighs and tells Shadowru to think carefully as he has a long future ahead of himself and she will get old much quicker than him. And she is very boring, but Shadowru says that he is the only one who gets to decide who he chooses, and asks her if she will worry, even though he has already told her that he doesn't care about their ages and how people will talk about them. Shadowru wishes to only live in the present, and right now he loves her. He isn't worried about anything, and whatever happens now, that will never change, so asks her to believe in him a bit. Hinata admits that Shadowru is very kind, but says that people change and that they both will change one day, at which Shadowru leans in and hopes that the change will be that she will start loving him too. Hinata shouts that he is being too optimistic and tells him to go home, but he warns her that he will be back anyways. Before leaving, Shadowru says that now that he is 18, they both can legally get married, but Hinata says that marriage requires the partner to also be willing, at which Shadowru says that he will work hard so she will see him as a man and not a student. He also adds that he will keep coming back and warns that him being 18 means that they could do anything, and leaves saying he will return soon. After this, Hinata smashes the door shut and screams about crying in front of a man 17 years younger than her. She heads inside while whining about him talking like that and being tall as an oak, and thinks that if keeps insisting she might fall for him, so to clear her head she decides to take a bath. She admits that she felt a thrill shoot through her body and wonders if Shadowru really is the man who will heal her broken heart. Hinata slaps herself to regain her senses and says that there is no way she will marry or even date a guy 17 years younger than her, as her body is starting to sag in places, so she doesn't want anyone to see it, especially Shadowru, and wonders if he meant bed shaking by saying they could do anything. On his way back, he gets a message from the girl he turned down earlier, apologizing to him and asking if they can still be friends. Shadowru agrees to remaining friends, and she asks if she can call him. At this moment, Shadowru realizes that he should have asked Hinata for her phone number. Later, Shadowru again comes to Hinata's door to confess his love, but she ignores that and refuses to let him inside as he isn't her student anymore. Shadowru admits that he is fine with just standing at her door because just seeing her face makes him happy. Shadowru flirts by saying that her normal pastel style is always cute, but her new style also suits her, as it gives off smart sensei vibes, which makes her appear very beautiful. Hinata thinks that all of these compliments are a result of the only ulterior motive men have, and remembers Shadowru saying they could do anything, so despite not wanting to believe, she concludes that Shadowru's actual goal is naughty time with her, after which he will be over her. Shadowru says that he has something to discuss with her and asks her to chat about his career path for a bit. Hinata is a bit surprised by this and agrees with Shadowru. Shadowru reveals that he's been thinking about finding a job after graduating, but the problem is that there aren't that many opportunities in Chiba for high school graduates. Hinata admits that it's true, but tells him to aim high. Shadowru says that he won't be able to make much, and Hinata admits that making money is important, but he should also consider if it's something he would be able to continue doing, as because even if he finds a good opportunity and takes it up but later finds out he doesn't want to do it, then he will have a really bad time. Shadowru smiles and asks if he can take his time to think about it. Hinata makes him understand that it would be better to have a connection with the thing he wants to do. She also admits that she's done a lot of different jobs, but the only reason she continued this one is because she loved English. Shadowru admits that there's a job that he wants to do, which makes Hinata excited. Shadowru admits that the pay won't be high and the place is close to the airport. Shotaro wishes to become an airplane mechanic, which surprises her a bit as she was thinking that he wanted to become a pilot, which Shotaro admits is also cool. Hinata gets happy at the thought of there being airplanes flying after being repaired by Shotaro. Hinata assures Shotaro that he would be able to do this job, which makes him happy. Shotaro says that in order to become an airplane mechanic, he needs to go to a technical school and asks if it would be fine. Hinata asks him why he is asking her, and he replies that it's because they are going to get married. This annoys Hinata as Shotaro admits to keep annoying her till she finds a boyfriend. Hinata still hasn't changed her stance on marrying students. Shotaro lets her know that this will take 3 years, so he will have to make her wait once more, which makes her feel the same things as before. Back when Shotaro was little, he let Hinata know that coming to her place every week won't be possible for him anymore. She asks him why that would be the case, but Shotaro doesn't say anything. She asks him about his high school and baseball, and Shotaro tells her that sadly he won't be able to play for long, which worries her. Shotaro asks her if she will stay there forever, and she replies with a smile that really loves the job and will stay as long as she's healthy, which makes him happy. She asks him why he asked her that, and he dodges the question. Shotaro leaves, but she tells him to return if he feels like. Shotaro leaves and tells her to not go anywhere even if he can't come anymore, and asks her to keep on waiting for her. Remembering the face Shotaro made back then and then seeing the one he is making right now, Hinata laughs a bit and says that when Shotaro stopped coming to meet him back in middle school, she thought that he had found a girlfriend. Shotaro clears that up for her and says that it was only because of his growing pains, which makes her worry about him, but he assures her that he is now fine. Hinata says that she will be happy if Shotaro would come to visit her again, but warns him that she will be 38 by then and excitedly asks him if there will be any girls at the airplane mechanic school, because she hopes that he will find a cute girl at school and then quickly forget about her. Shotaro shouts that he isn't interested in any girl that isn't her, which makes her blush hard. Later, Shotaro thanks Hinata for her advice and says that it will take him a little bit more time, so pleads with her to not go anywhere until he comes back for her and asks her to wait for him. All this makes Hinata think that Shotaro will really catch her. After Shotaro leaves, she thinks that all of this is too messy and decides to do something about all this. On his walk back, Shotaro mutters to himself that telling Hinata to wait for 3 more years was too lame and wonders what he should have said. He wants to get a good job quickly, but getting one as a high school graduate isn't easy, and getting one that pays less than what she makes won't impress her, but he starts to overthink about Hinata finding a boyfriend in the 3 years he's away from her and wonders what he should do and screams in despair that he just wants a good job. Hinata realizes that she needs to get Shotaro to give up on her and wonders what to do. She decides that instead of waiting for that, she needs to firmly turn him down. She gets a notification from a dating site and remembers that it's the same one she downloaded a week ago, and thinks about deleting it as she hasn't even made a profile on it yet, but remembers Shotaro telling her to wait for him. She shouts that she isn't a girl waiting for her Prince Charming, so as an adult she has to make herself disappear from his sites and decides to create the account. Fuja tells Shotaro's friends that she feels like he's avoiding her, at which they try to not give a proper answer. She asks them if they are good friends of him, and they admit that they have been friends since little, so she asks them who is the person from another school that Shotaro likes. One of them is about to answer her, but the other one stops him. Fuja asks that if Shotaro doesn't have anyone he likes, then why would he lie to her? The two friends try to quickly think something up and tell her that it was probably so she didn't get hurt, which shocks her, but we all know the real reason is that she is as flat as a cutting board. He says that Shotaro probably made up the excuse because he's having trouble deciding what to do after graduation, so he doesn't have any time for girlfriends or anything else, so it's probably not right for him to think about things like this. Fuja jumps to conclusions and asks them if Shotaro is into guys. This shocks the friends just as much as it shocks you, and they both immediately deny the accusations by saying that Shotaro has always been a perv, which makes her blush. The friends think that they should try to protect Shotaro's dignity a little bit better. Fuja leaves thanking the two and says that she will try harder. After she leaves, the two friends relax a bit and think about just happened, as they can tell her the truth that Shotaro is into a woman who is 17 years older than him. Later, after classes end, Shotaro pack up his things while thinking about going to visit Hinata again, but thinks that she will get annoyed if he does so. He suddenly gets the brilliant idea to get a part-time job to save up some money, and then invite Hinata on a date. Suddenly, Fuja enters the room and asks him if he is heading home, and he asks if she is doing the same. She has just been hanging around as she has a lot of free time due to not having any club activities. Shotaro laughs, saying that's unexpected, as he always thought of her as a serious person. She smiles and replies that after graduation she will go to an art school as she has already gotten a scholarship for that. Shotaro congratulates her for that and tells her about his plan to go to a specialty school. She gets surprised at this as she always thought that he would go to college. Shotaro did actually consider going to college, but a few things made him change his mind. She asks him if it was actually because of the person he likes, and he tries to dodge the question and leave, but she stops him and asks for a favor. Later, Shadowru helps her get the clay figures she made down from the top shelf. Shadowru grabs the sculpture and gets it down for her, and she admits that she made that one based on her own body. Shadowru now realizes the way he has been holding it and falls down blushing and holds the sculpture with respect for her, which she finds cute. She jokes saying her chest isn't big like that and lets her hair down and asks him if her face looks like the sculpture. Shadowru agrees with her as he had never seen her with her hair down before. This sculpture is her ideal and wishes to have a nice figure as that so she could show it to him, which leaves him speechless. She now apologizes to Shadowru for being so persistent as she has now realized that she can't give up on him. Fujita tells Shadowru that she likes him and starts to undress herself while telling him not to look away and wants him to look at her. She is not very confident but wants him to know more about her, but Shadowru tells her that it is not something that he can do like a true alpha male. He only has eyes for his teacher. Fujita gets angry like a gamer who got a garbage support in League and is on their 5th losing streak. She rips her jacket like she is Hulk and says that she is serious about this. Shadowru tries to stop her, but Fujita tells him to let go of her angrily, and Shadowru tells her that she should only do this kind of thing with someone who is important to her. Shadowru is dense as a black hole, and she says that he is someone important to her, and ever since they started school, he was always kind to her, and now she cannot get him out of her head. She says that he can do anything with her, and he rejects her and puts her in the friend zone. First time I have seen a woman get friend zoned. Fujita becomes broken and apologizes to him and tells him to look at her again while she removes all her clothing. Shadowru is surprised, apologizes to her, and quickly grabs his bag and runs away from her. What an alpha male! Fujita becomes upset and starts to cry while Shadowru keeps running away from the school and reaches a small building. He starts to remember what Fujita did and becomes sad because he only had eyes for his teacher, and that he made up his mind that she is the only one for him. He told Hinata in the past that he is not interested in girls who are not her and looks down his pants and notices that he got excited because of Fujita. He was only trying to be faithful to the promise that he made, but this woman decides to ruin it and screw him over. So selfish of her. In a kid's English school, Hinata is talking in English to the students. She asks them how they are doing and they say that they are fine and asks her how she is doing. Hinata says that there is something she is worrying about. One of the kids says that she must have romance problems, and another one wonders how to say romance in English. The girl asks if she is in love, and Hinata tells her in English that she is mature and asks if any of them are in love as well. The girl says that they have a boyfriend, and another boy says that he does not care about any of that stuff. Hinata asks another kid, Tubo, if he is in love with anyone and thinks that boys are more interested in sports and games instead. Tubo looks up at her and blushes and tells her that she is beautiful in English, which surprises her. Hinata blushes and thanks him and says that he is nice, and one of the girls asks if he is in love with the teacher, and he gets embarrassed and tells her to be quiet. Hinata asks everyone if they finished the prep work for this week and tells them to open to page 56 of a book. After studying for a while, everyone leaves to go home, and Hinata tells them to be careful on the way home. Tungo stays for a while and wonders if he has to say it in English, and Hinata tells him that school is over so he can say it however he likes. He asks her if she has a boyfriend, and Hinata becomes surprised because it has been a while since someone asked for that and remembers when Shadowru asked her that. She thinks that she has to lie to him but is bad at lying and decides to avoid answering and says that she is not sure about that. Tungo tries to say something, but one of the other kids interrupts him and tells him to hurry up or he will leave without him. Toguro looks upset, and Hinata says that she will see him next week and thinks that the youthful love seems heart-rending. They are close to their object of affection, but should not reach them, and thinks that she should hurry and find somebody old enough that they would be fine to reach out to, or else she will feel lonely forever, or else she will become one thing that all women fear, a cat lady. She checks her phone and sees a notification for a matchmaking party who are looking for participants and notices that the place is close by and only costs women 500 yen if they sign up online. What is this discrimination against men? She thinks that if it is a calm party where university professors, doctors, and people similar to them are there, then even someone like her might be able to find love. She remembered that she made a promise to Shadowru when he was a kid, but never thought that he would really come for her when he turned 18. She feels bad for destroying his dream, but an age difference of 17 years is big, and that he would be disappointed when she becomes old and he would leave her for someone younger when she becomes 50. Imagine almost being in university and your husband was just born. That's crazy. Hinata knows that Shadowru would not do that, but if she wants to spend the rest of her life with someone, she would feel better with someone similar or older than her. She decides to go to the matchmaking party even though she never went to one before. She wonders how she really feels about Shoutaru, and while she was looking through the app, she could not find anyone she was interested in, and when she looks at Shoutaru, she feels tight in her chest. Could be a heart attack, she should go to a hospital. She thinks that he is cool, tall, and when he laughs, he looks cute and young. He is honest, dedicated, and calm, but their age is too big. Sounds like a perfect man you can only find in mangas, if only real life was like that. She thinks that whatever girl dates him is going to end up happy and becomes a little jealous. She stretches and remembers that he said a lot of nice things to her, but she cannot date him. It's like a pizza slice in front of a fat person when they are running on a treadmill to lose weight. Suddenly, the doorbell rings, which surprises her, and she wonders if it is Shoutaru and gets embarrassed. She slaps herself and tells herself to be an adult and asks who it is. She opens the door and says that Shoutaru is not wearing a coat and asks if he is cold, but he does not say anything. She asks if something happened to him, and he looks embarrassed and sad. When Shoutaru was a kid, he always liked the smell of Hinata's apartment. He was studying there and tells her that he finished the notebook and notices that she is sleeping in front of him. He tries to wake her up but stops and looks under the desk and gets embarrassed when he sees her melons. Hinata wakes up, which surprises him, and she asks if something happened, and he makes an excuse and says that he dropped his eraser. She notices that he finished the notebook, and he asks if she is not getting enough sleep, and she says that she's going to use the washroom really quick. She tells him to practice reading and asks if he will be able to answer in English. Next to the classroom that they are studying in, there was another room, and when he asked her about it, she said that it was a secret. He always wanted to look into the room and thought that it was where Hinata slept and changed her clothes and applied makeup. He tried opening the door to the room and sees some bra hanging from the ceiling. He was able to see that just once. What a weird kid. I bet he gets bullied in school. In the present, Hinata says that he is going to be cold standing at the door and says that he can come in just this time. He thanks her for that, and she says that he looks different from usual and if everything's all right. He says that he does not want to tell her because she might hate him, and she asks if he found a girl he likes, but he quickly says that he did not. He says that even though he did not like her, his body still got excited and explains what happened. Shoutaru explains to Hinata what happened to him, and she asks how he feels about the girl. He explains that she is just a friend and never thought about her that way or even looked at her like that. Hinata says that he was probably not happy when she came on to him like that, but Shoutaru's body still reacted like that, and he says that even though he loves her, he still got excited after his friend, which he hated and felt disgusting to him. It made him upset, and he says that he betrayed her because of that. Wow, he is purer than the cocaine found in Area 51. Hinata tells him to calm down and explains that when a man looks at a nude female body, even if she is not someone he loves, his body is going to react like that, which is normal for a person his age. Do they not teach this in health class in Japan? She explains that it is physiological response and some boys wake up in the morning like that as well, and he did nothing wrong at all. She says that they are not even dating yet, so it is not like he betrayed her, and says that seeing him like this made her think when he became her boyfriend, and Shoutaru looks embarrassed. Hinata apologizes to him because she knows he is being serious, but she is just an old lady who is not good with romance and just yapping his ears off. Is this a light novel or a manga? She says that what the girl did to him is wrong regardless of gender. We finally got gender equality in mangas. Kazuma would be proud. Hinata has never been desperate about love or romance, so she does not understand why the girl did what she did, but for girls, showing themselves to boys is not something that can be easily done, and thinks that the girl was serious about him, but was not sure how to get him to look at her. She was desperate and hurt, and that he does not have to forgive her, but she is not the only one who loves someone so much that they become blind to everything, similar to Shoutaru. He asks why girls' bodies are special, and if it is normal for men to just accept that, because even when he saw Fujita's body, he never thought he was lucky and tried to stop her from doing that, because if someone came into the classroom, they would get the wrong idea. After Shoutaru turned her confession down, everyone said that he should have gotten with her and never cared about how he felt. We truly live in a society where men's feelings are not even considered. He asks if there is not anyone who would believe in him, and says that the first time he got excited was looking at Hinata's tongue, which surprises her. He tells her everything that he did, like peeking into her room and looking under the desk and at her melons when she was sleeping as a kid. Hinata is surprised and says that the room is private, and he says that until she turns him down, the only one he wants is her. Not even God can get that out of me. Hinata is surprised that he came all the way to her house just to say that, and asks if he ever looked at dirty magazines or videos online. He says that he did, but never did anything with that because he only wanted to see her body, because that is how much he loves her. He decided that the first woman he wants to be with would be her, and Hinata starts to get embarrassed. She gets a bit excited but tells Shoutaru not to tease her anymore, but he grabs her hand and says no deal and kisses her on the lips. Hinata notices some features of Shoutaru, like his big hands, soft lips, the smell of his hair, and that he smells like a boy. Since she was young, the person she liked always had a boy smell which she really liked. It was not like any guy would work, but when she met a guy that had a certain kind of smell, she wanted that person a lot. Looks like both of them are weird. They should get together to cancel out the weirdness. When she smelled something like that, she would go crazy like a good cake in front of her. She moves her hand towards Shantaru's pants and thinks that she must not reach for it, but she cannot help it and accidentally touches his private part. Shantaru becomes excited and Hinata tries to push him away and says that they cannot do it, but Shantaru does not care and says that he loves her. He kisses her again and smashes their lips together, but more powerful this time as she thinks that he kisses clumsily, but sometimes proper and dignified, but she does not care because she thinks it is cute, and then he also smells very good. This chapter was shorter than most people in bed. Hinata wants to eat the cake badly and starts to blush a lot when she kisses Shantaru. They stop kissing and Hinata slaps him in the face lightly and says that he cannot do this kind of thing with her, and that she did not let him come into her home so he could do dirty things like this. Shantaru apologizes to her and looks cute, which embarrasses her even more. He says that he is happy that his first kiss was with her. She tells him that he cannot say things like that, and he grabs her hand and laughs because he got scolded again. Hinata looks at him and laughs and says that he is a strange person, but that something bad happened to him at school, so if he is really sure that he wants to do something like this because it might scare him again or give him bad memories. He says that the person he was with was not someone he loved, but since he loves his teacher, it is completely different and feels safe. He wants to touch her more, and he says that he feels excited not just from his body, but also his heart and mind. Very mindful, very demure. Hinata tries to say something, but notices his private part, which makes her embarrassed, and he starts to hug her. They start to smell each other and get excited as well, and Hinata really loves it and wants it, but knows that she cannot. She enjoys seeing a boy getting excited in front of her and remembers that Shantaru wanted her to be the first woman he wanted to be with. She asks him if he wants to peek at her melons and if he wants to see her as well, even though she might be dirtier than a young girl. Shantaru gets even more excited and grabs her shoulder and says that he wants to see it, and Hinata thinks that she should not say this, but there is a young boy in front of her who wants her badly. Shantaru says that he wants to feel his memories fully with her body, and Hinata cannot wait any longer. He sure has a way with words. Shantaru asks his sister what he should do if he wanted an older person to like me, and his sister says that the most important thing is to be honest. He should speak to them while looking them in the eyes while being cheerful and considerate, and the old people would think that he is a nice boy. At school, some students ask him to help them put the school festival posters up, which he agrees to. At the teacher's office, a teacher tells him that his English ability is very good, and even the assistant language teacher complimented him, which he gets embarrassed about. In class, his friend asks how he did on the tests, and Shantaru says that he almost failed everything except English, which they are happy about and laugh. The girls think that he is pretty cool and sometimes silly and cute. Everyone thinks that he is someone nice and cool. At home, Shantaru is studying late at night and takes a break to go on his phone when he sees a naughty video. He gets excited but quickly closes his phone and goes to his bed and tries to sleep and fantasizes about Hinata and him making love. Shantaru gets even more excited and apologizes to her and says that he has been a good boy until now because he wanted her to like him, and if she did, they could go on dates and get married, but also that he wanted to touch her. He thinks that the thing that he thought was love might have been something more impure. In the present, he asks if it is alright for him to see after all that kissing, and she says that they should not do this kind of thing even if the law says that it is not a crime. Shantaru says that he will not tell anyone at all, but Hinata is still kind of hesitant and says that she cannot do anything, and whatever happens next is all up to him. She tells him to do what he likes and not to worry about her at all.
Shantaru starts breathing rapidly as Hinata tries to shy away, blushing and calling his name. As their passion begins to ignite, Shantaru tells her it's all right. He doesn't need to do anything. He promises to take all the responsibility for everything that is about to go down. Hinata is still worrying, but she is starting to give in. As they move closer, Shantaru thinks that he is a man. Of course, he has secret motives, but it is also true that he is not after her body, but after hers. He thinks to himself that it's not only that, but his feelings run much deeper. He tells Hinata that he is planning on marrying her, and he wants her to know that. Her eyes widen in surprise as she realizes the truth of Shantaru's feelings, as he is in love with his sensei. It surprises her as she looks at Shantaru, shivering in fear and apologizing, unable to hold back anymore, as he goes face first into those massive milkers. As he apologizes, he buries himself deeper, getting a handful and sending shockwaves through Hinata. He starts breathing it deeply. Shantaru realizes that he has the ball in his court, and he can move through all the bases. She is leaving it all up to him. She is even arching herself to give him easier access, and so he does what he is expected to do. She is getting a taste of those porcelain cups with Hinata shying away and telling him to stop, but her body suggests otherwise as things start to heat up and clothes start dropping like bodies. A doorbell saves everything and saves Shootaru from crossing the line he can't go back from. They both take this moment to clear their minds. As the bell continuously rings, Hinata quickly goes to see a young little boy calling her sensei and apologizing for forgetting his pencil case. He is unaware that his sensei is in the middle of getting her own pencil case opened. She tells the little boy to wait, and she'll bring it right over. But the little boy is as curious as ever. He peeks behind Hinata, looking at Shootaru and asking who the hell is he. Hinata starts panicking with the little boy angrily asking what school he goes to. Shootaru replies, high school. The little boy excitedly wonders if it's okay if he comes to her place even after he gets into high school. But the sensei is eager to send him away, saying that it varies from everyone. The little boy is then handed his pencil case, telling him to be careful not to forget anything. As the little boy goes away happily, whistling to himself, Hinata breathes a sigh of relief, thinking that everything is going to be peachy. But instead, Shootaru has other plans, telling Hinata that they should continue where they left off. Hinata tells him that maybe they shouldn't do this anymore. As it's late, he should go home. Shootaru pauses for a moment, wondering if he's being rejected, but he smiles, asking Sensei if it's okay if he comes over again to hang out. The sensei looks away and pauses for a moment, with her face turning bright red. He then says that it's fine as long as he wants to. This uplifts Shootaru's spirits, as he promises to come around again. As long as she doesn't outright tell him not to come over, he's going to keep coming again and again. As he turns to leave, he promises to fall in love with her, and that he'll be right back. Hinata looks at her sensei leave, before collapsing against the door, thinking of him as an irresponsible adult. She's also in need of a shower and a new dress, as the way Shootaru carries himself is different from all the other company she's ever had. After taking a shower and getting rid of her desires, she cools down and tells everything that happened to her friend, seeing that she crossed a dangerous line, and even that, with a boy 17 years younger than her. She further explains she can't think about it with a clear mind, and she can't talk to her parents or any friends, because she might have the FBI on her trail, so she is the only one she can turn to, as she is her best friend. Raitan, on the other hand, listens to her rant. She finally answers that she knows that she is her best friend and all, but this is very out of pocket and she didn't expect to hear this from her. After being met by judgment, even by her best friend, Hinata apologizes, but what her friend says is that she is glad she talked to her without charging ahead, because she always ends up in a sticky situation when she tries to shoulder everything by herself. Riton further says that this is very out of pocket, but she needs an objective opinion. Hinata wonders about that, saying that if they speak socially, will people accept something like that? Riton apologizes, saying that it's not up to the people, but it is what she is prepared to endure. Can she accept that her partner is 18 or 16 years old? And even then, some people will grumble about it. Hinata wonders to herself what she is prepared to endure. Her friend reminds her that if his hot-headed dad gets wind of it, she won't have to worry if the people will accept it or not, because she will be disowned right away. Hinata looks away in a gloomy mood, telling her not to talk about her dad. On the other hand, she wonders how serious it is. Hinata explains that whenever he sees her, he makes a move and tells her that he loves her immensely. But her friend corrects her by asking what about her feelings. This shocks Hinata. She thinks hard for a moment what she wants with the kid. She finally reasons that she wants him to focus on his future and give up on her. But Raitan, once again, addresses the elephant in the room, asking what she wants. Hinata yells that she wants him to give up, but Raitan coldly puts out the truth that she has fooled around with him. And after that fooling up and that feeling up, how can she want him to give up? Saying do what you like to a grown man and a year-old boy is different. After that, she let him have his way with her. Why didn't she do that? Wasn't she thinking at all? Hinata tries her best to dodge her bullets of truth. Raitan tells her that she should be grateful this kid is upright and honest, because ordinarily, she could have been in a very tough situation. Ninatra can only mumble. She finally whispers that she has never been so awakened by anyone but him, and she wanted to see what he could do. It was as if her head lost her cool, and her faucet opened up. Right hand wonders why is that? What is it that activated in her? Hinata wonders for a moment, and finally answers that it's his behavior, his scent, and his roughness. Everything, and the atmosphere too, was very awakening. Right hand tells her to hold up for a moment, and once again gives her a reality check, asking what part of that was love. And she's not seeing her student. It's not the student that excites her. It's the idea of the younger student itself that excites her. She decides to be frank with Hinata, calling her a messed up person. Raitan has enough of her obsessive tactics and asks her out front what she wants. What is she feeling and why is she not answering her? She continues to give her a reality check one after another, saying that while on the one hand she says it is unnatural and irrational, and on the surface she wants him to give up, still it ended up with him having his way. And though she has been her friend for a very long time, whatever she decides to do, She's always going to be part of it, but this time around she needs to know what she wants. She wants her to think. The writer asks her once again if she really loves him. If so, then she will support her with everything she got down this thorny road. But if it's the idea of a younger student having his way with her, then she'll be mad and furious with him. Hinata can't even answer anymore. All she can do is tremble like a leaf. She wonders if that's all that is to it. Raitan looks away, clearly disturbed, and apologizes for going too far. She wonders if she's crying. Hinata's voice starts to break, and she wonders if she's nothing but a degenerate. This whole time she's been running, because it's just that she's afraid of falling in love with him. He is 17 years younger after all. She starts breaking down, yelling out no matter how many times she says it is going to be indecent. People will never understand or support her, even though he says that he will support her financially. But when she grows old and becomes a granny, will he continue doing that? And with her age, she might not even have children. If then he says that a younger girl would be better, or if he wants kids, what will she do then? Will she be cast aside like a rag doll? She doesn't have the confidence to keep him to herself. And if she truly falls in love, and he finds another girl, she can't stand seeing them together. While rolling in her self-loathing, she calls herself a nasty woman, as she can't keep up the sensei act. She can't be the sensei he always admired. She is just breaking down into a weak and pathetic woman, and the more she loves him, the less of a mature woman she seems, and more of a woman who picks up young men. She yells that it's scary. She is afraid. She can't love him, even though she actually wants to, from the bottom of her heart. Her right arm smiles in understanding, saying she knows. Romance at their age is frightening, and she understands it well.